Hey there, everybody. I coming back with a conversation that I feel like needs to be had. I keep hearing a conversation that I feel like some of us aren't being represented in. So this is a conversation to represent some of us, and some of us. I mean, there is a subset group of gay people who are not totally on board with every LBGTQIA plus moment, concept, movement, thought process, and all of that. And no issue to them, no issue with them. It's just that there's a group of people who choose to live their life kind of more privately as far as what they choose, who they choose, that kind of stuff, right? And this conversation is sparked because I keep running into conversations where people group gay people just into one big group, and that the most popular, the most talked about people are representative of all of us, and that's not the case. One of the main things is that, obviously, like anything else, depending on where you grow up at, that might influence, how you respond to certain things. But I came from a culture and back, everybody that I can say that's probably 40 and up might be a little different in ways. Let me just speak from where I'm from. I grew up in North Carolina, so that being the Bible Belt, things was a lot different. And being from Burlington and being from a smaller town, that really made a difference in how everything about that was perceived. I remember when I was young, the people talked about gay, they said look gay. And what does look gay mean? And for them, that meant that the guys were more effeminate. And I remember, if you saw a guy and his hand, and he walked and he talked and his hand went down like that, people would say that. Or if they was a stylist or something, or if a lady was a mechanic or dressed a little more masculine, then they just assumed and thought that person was gay. And it could be true, but it didn't have to be, right? But inside of that time of growing up, there was a different thought about what you wanted your life to be. And I remember being gay wasn't the first thing I wanted anybody to know about me. Had nothing to do with being ashamed of anything that I was doing. It was just that there was much more to me than that. And there's a whole set of people who live their life with that not being their main focus, like with that not being the first thing they want you to know. They want their character and their moral standings to be, they got good jobs, they represent their families well, and things like that. And right now, what people see more than anything is this outlandish lifestyle, and the first thing that you got to respect is my sexuality. And that's not true for a vast majority of older people. And like I say, everybody that I know older has always just wanted, life to be such that I'm productive, I'm good. Do you see how good my life is? And oh yeah, by the way, I have a girlfriend. And I know that for me in particular, because my mama, she didn't like me being gay at all. I know this. My mama, she responded to it in certain ways. She didn't. And that influenced how I made sure that, not just that, but I wasn't a bad person anyway, never been. But when I left home and moved away, a lot of that was just so that I could live my life and not have it shadow on my parents and have my mama feeling any kind of way. Now, that didn't stop me from bringing anybody that I wanted to bring around, that kind of stuff. But I never was around my parents or my family all up on somebody, that kind of stuff. It wasn't that. It was companionship that I wanted with me, but it wasn't anything to show off and to put that in folks' face. And I think that's a big difference with what where we are today, everybody wants that to be in your face. You can't say anything. It's so tender and sensitive. If people today couldn't have grown up when we grown up, because back in the day, people would say you're a fag. They would call a lady a dyke, and even though that wasn't a positive thing, it was just, you couldn't whimper, whine, and cry about everything somebody says. And today, if you say anything off kilter to somebody in the life, you might get sued. And I mean, it's the focus is so on what it's not even about, actually, to me. And so I just wanted to just really say that there is a whole set of people who you would never know that they prefer somebody of the same sex. So when you're sitting around and people are representing it, that's not everybody. You might be in line next to somebody, working with somebody forever, and never know unless they told you. Or, sometimes they might see a little things, but as far as how they act, their demeanor, and what they want you to know first about them isn't that. I remember, even to this very day, there are people that I remember being at church with, growing up around, and even in their death, they never admitted, or their partners never admitted that they were together. I know people right now that have never admitted that they're together, and they're together. One thing that always amazes me is like when a preacher sits and thinks they're calling out somebody. It's normally somebody that has a look or has a dress and appeal that's more dominant towards the other sex that they like. I've yet to be in a place where a preacher, prophet, somebody had a word of deliverance from homosexuality for somebody that they didn't think appeared that way. And that's always funny to me. I don't know how that comes into this, but it's always funny to me that people think they know the stereotype. Like, I don't ever think I'm a dude. Everybody don't think they're a dude that has a little more, I don't think I'm a guy. I know that I'm a lady, and that's never been a question, that's never been an issue. And I think the way that it's coming out now is that you would think that everybody that is with a lady, that there's got to be a man in the thing, a lady in the group, and how do you act, and that kind of stuff. And it's not even about that. It's more about how am I treated, and how do I live my life in a way that is productive, and that we are beneficial to each other and to those that we're around. And even on a spiritual side, how can we be a blessing to the church that we support, or to the causes that we fund. And so it's so much more to it than what they put on TV, the sensationalism of it all. It's so much more to it that's just ordinary and regular flow in life. And I just think that I'm just so tired of seeing the only thing they show is just this outlandish attitude, this outlandish sexual nature, this outlandish way of being, and that's really not how we all are. But I've noticed that ever since they've added the alphabets to the other things, it's all these other acceptances that they want. And people do what they want. I don't care, really. It has nothing to do with me. But I'm just saying, there's a subset of folk that I would much rather people who have questions come talk to me. There's a group of people that will never identify themselves, but I just would rather, instead of you thinking we all act like that and making opinions and judgments, hey, somebody like me who's open and honest, and I've been there. I've never been a hider. I just left just so that I could, live my life and come back and be able to show my mom and my dad that you can say whatever about what my preferences are, but I live a decent, good life, And so I don't know. Once again, I just wanted to make that point that, everybody isn't the same. The culture isn't the same. And what they're showing you isn't representative of, I bet, 80% of the gay population. Most of us would never support a lot of the stuff, and don't support a lot of the things that they see, and a lot of things of what's going on. So send me an email. If you want to say something about it, you can either, my email is STUDversations@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Facebook, csmooth70. That's on my Instagram as well. But I would love to engage and have a real, more in-depth conversation about the difference between us old school and this new school thing, and how we can help those younger kids make better decisions about the choices and not base them on sex and sexuality. All right, peace.